So on a thread recently, I was asked about the software that I use for editing my videos. And I thought, you know what? I've not done a video on it. I've done videos on video equipment. I've done videos on why you should do video, but I've never done a video on the editing process. Now that could be a really big oversight for me, or there could be some other reason why, but in this video, what I want to do is I want to look at that editing workflow, which I do, and just highlight some things which may well help you, some insights which will help you if you are looking to edit your own videos. But firstly, let's look at the software and the processes which I use. And there's so much out there. There's so many different pieces of software out there, depending on what computer you've got, or what tablet you've got, or what phone you've got, or which operating system you follow and which you don't. And to say that I've been dragged down the rabbit hole on numerous occasions where a piece of software's come out and I've gone, oh, that looks really good. It does something which I haven't got already. It's really difficult for me anyway, to succumb from that temptation. But there is always a piece of software out there which will promise that it does it quicker or easier or with less fuss or with more bells and whistles, or it does something which you don't have already, which you're convinced is going to make your videos better. And you have to kind of wrestle and play with that a little bit. And the advice I give you at this stage is it doesn't matter what software you use, as long as it's a software which is right for you and for your workflow. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for all of these rabbit holes that I've been down, and I'm grateful for the learning that I've had with this software. But I can't get that time back now. So we're going to look at the actual processes which I use, and I'm going to show you that on a quick diagram. So if we're looking at my workflow, we have filming at this end. We then come through to editing here. We then go through to captions and then upload. That gives us a very simple kind of process to follow, and once we know we've done the filming and it's into the editing platform, and then we go to captions, and then we go to upload. Once we know we've done this, we can then move on to the other things. The filming bit we've talked about in a previous video. What I'm going to focus on today is editing through to captions. I'm not going to look at upload particularly, other than just reference it. For me, the focus is going to be around software at this point. What software can you use? What considerations? And also looking at the captions, because that's a really important component of it. But first, let's go and look at the software for editing. So there's three main devices which I use to edit my videos. There's my Mac, so desktop Mac, and also a MacBook Pro. There's also my iPad and my iPhone. I use exclusively Apple-based stuff, and that's not to say that the other stuff doesn't work well. It's just that this is the system I have. It's the system I've kind of grown up with in recent years, and it's the system I know inside and out. But it really doesn't matter what you use as long as it works for you. Now on the iPhone and the iPad, I use two pieces of software. I use a piece of software called iMovie, which comes free, and it's great for very, very simple edits. And I also use a piece of software called LumaFusion, which is a paid product, which is good for the more kind of detailed multi-layer edits. And I'm just going to quickly show you the interface on those now. So this is iMovie on an iPhone, and you can start just a fresh new movie as a project. You can pick a video file from your camera roll, so you don't need to download it onto a computer. This comes up in a timeline, and you can do some things like you can split clips. You can take one clip and you can duplicate it and copy it. You can go into that clip and you can change the coloring. You can go along and change the transitions between them to have these funky little changes between clips. You can go to a clip and you can decide if you're going to speed it up or slow it down. You've got the opportunity as well to add some text effects. And then finally, when you've done all this, you can export it to your camera roll ready for upload. And this is LumaFusion on the iPad as well. You can see a very similar timeline setup as same with other editors. You've got the option to add in some media directly from the camera roll and the Photos app itself. You can also, on each of these, you can pick one of these, move it around a bit like cards, like you're shuffling cards around. And you can slow things down and you can speed things up individually for those segments. You can also have a look at the audio, different audio traces, and you can edit a lot of the characteristics of the video itself in terms of brightness and contrast with these different templates. The great thing as well is you can export all of these edits onto your camera roll, and you've got loads of different formats that you can put it down as too.
Now on the Mac, I use a piece of software called Final Cut Pro 10, or FCPX, as you'll find it if you do a search. And it's a really high-end piece of software, but I don't use 90% of what's on it. But I find it really nice that I get control over things which I wouldn't get control of with kind of those lower-end products. There's the ability to do voiceovers as well, which is fantastic, and bring in audio and fade things in and out. I get much more control over not just the video editing process, but also the tone and what I do to add or take away from that video. I'm just going to show you that interface now so you can kind of appreciate the size of it.
So this is Final Cut Pro, and as you can see, it's a proper pro level piece of software. We have all kinds of stuff here. We have a load of different resources that have been brought into it. We have a big window to look at the video. We have a timeline across the bottom here with different components put over the top. We have waveforms for looking at audio. We have different effects we can apply. This is a big piece of software. And it's, I suppose in some ways it's not for the faint-hearted. Yes, you can do some very simple edits on this, but it's really for those big full-on edits where you want to have different components, different layers, and really take that video production and editing to the next level. I love it, but then I'm a bit of a geek.
So once I've edited the video on whatever platform it is, and I then export it, I then get it off that device, and a copy is uploaded to a place called Revcom, and Rev helps me to produce the captions. It takes the audio and it produces the captions, which I can then put into the file later. I'm just going to show you a quick video of Revcom's interface as well, so you can have a look and see just kind of what it looks like.
Let's talk about captions quickly. So there are many ways of getting captions for your video. The one I use is Rev.com, but other companies are available as well. I found Rev to be one of the most consistent ones. Type Rev.com into your browser or do it as a Google search as I've done, and you come through to a website. This is me logged on, a website which is actually very, very simple to look at based on folders and files. Rev costs $1.25 a minute, which for a 10-minute video or however long you want might sound like quite a lot, but the accuracy is really very good. And given that people tend to watch videos now on their mobile with the sound off, captions and subtitles are really important. Using Rev is simple. You log on, you set up an account. When you place a new order, you can decide what you want to place a new order for. You upload your files, and once you've uploaded your files, and it's all been sorted for you, you come back to this window here, click on the file which they've transcribed for you, and it gives you a window by which you can edit the transcription from your video. And you'll see here as we go through, it's not coming up with the video there, but that's fine. There we go, the video's up now. And it gives you the actual transcription and the timing of where it's going to be in the video, which is really important for when you download the video to your computer to upload. The great thing about this as well is when you click on these, you can edit them too, which means that if you do happen to get a spelling mistake or there's a word which is misheard, it will actually allow you to sort that out. Once you're done, click download. SRT file is the file which generally you want for captions, and then you can add that to your video later on.
So Rev produces a caption file with time in which you can then add to the video. You can either do what we call burning in, so it means that whenever you play the video, the captions are there, or you can add it on the software you're using later on so that when you click your subtitles button, it pops up. And there's a couple of ways in which I put the captions on. One is using Final Cut Pro, and one is using a piece of software called Capwing.
So to find Capwing, it's pretty simple. Type it into your browser, type it into a Google search, click on the link, takes you through to it, and you come up once you've logged in with this very simple workspace interface. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here to show you much past this. Capwing can be a little bit slow, but one of the benefits of it is it's free, so you can have a play around with it, and you can do some really quite cool editing sizes, and for the purpose of this video, you can do some quite interesting caption effects as well. But it's definitely worth checking out if you've got a caption file that you want to upload.
And once that whole process is done, I then have a video which I can deploy onto my social media channels. And I'm not going to talk about that today particularly. I'm not really going to discuss those platforms and those channels. But once you have that file, that's when you can use it as part of your social media. And then it becomes a really useful asset. Now, you're probably looking at this video and going, okay, you've talked to me about your workflow, but what's going to work for me in particular? And that's a really good question. I don't know what your software is. I don't know what your system is. I don't know what your processes are at the moment. But there's a few things I would definitely say that you need to be considering when looking at software for editing your videos. The first one is, how much time do you have? There's no point taking on a big editing piece of software if you just don't have the time, or if you don't enjoy it. There's nothing worse than having a big editing project which you're trying to cut together and do all the bits of music and graphics and stuff like that, if you haven't got the time and you don't enjoy it. Luckily, I enjoy it. I'm not convinced to have the time, but I actually enjoy the process of creating that video. But if you haven't got the time and you don't enjoy it, you need to think about that. Number two is, how much money do you want to invest? Final Cut Pro is not massively expensive, but it's also not free. And you need to decide how much money you want to spend on the software that you're going to be using. And it is a bit of a trade-off on this continuum between price of software and functionality. But it really depends on what level of editing you want to work at. If you want to start going down the high-end route, I'd start looking at the paid products. If you want to be doing something very, very simple, I'd just keep it very, very simple. But have a think about what you want to invest. The third thing is, how technical do you want to get? And I've kind of touched on this in point one. If you want to do very, very simple edits where you take a video, you do it on your camera and you chop the front off, you chop the back off and you upload it, you don't need anything spectacular. You can do that on your phone with the inbuilt software. But if you want to start adding music and overlays and delays and start playing around with almost how that video creates emotion in other people, then you need to start to up your game and start to look at things which are more technical. But this really comes down to how much do you want to get involved in this. But just think, how technical do you want to be? And the fourth thing is, what's your base of equipment? You know, are we talking really kind of high-end stuff, or are we just talking simple equipment? Because that will dictate the kind of videos which you can do, and it will also dictate how technical you can get with your editing. I mean, really, this whole thing is a continuum, and there's so many other things to consider as well. But you need to look not at what is the best piece of software out there, or the best computer, or the best tablet or phone, or the best video recorder or camera. You need to look at what's best for you, what's best for your processes, what's best for your systems, and what's best for the time you have and what you want to get out of it. Now, I have put a guide together. There's a link down in the comments, which does list some of the software which you can go out there and take a look at. It's not a definitive guide. There's so much out there, and if I tried to do a definitive guide, it would take absolutely ages. But just consider it as a small bit of advice. Just have a look and see. Try some software out, see what works for you, but ultimately find out what is best for you. There's a lot of stuff to consider in this video, stuff which I've talked about already, and some of it might be confusing, some of it might make perfect sense to you. But I suppose the big message which I will want you to take away today is that decide what works for you, decide what fits into your entire process and your procedure and your systems and your equipment, and find out what works for you. Find out what you want to get from this, what you want to achieve. Because without that at the core, everything else is just technical advice and fluff. You might find after watching this video that actually you don't want to do any of this stuff and you want to outsource it, and that's cool. There's no shame and no problem with doing that at all. But if at the end of this you've still got questions, you want to find out a little bit more, then come and find me.